Peace, everybody.
Peace,
Come on
everybody.
in.
Come on
We
in.
we getting it
We getting
moving.
it moving.
Another
Another
episode of
episode of
Polka Dot
Polka
Rabbit
Dot Rabbit
Podcast.
Podcast.
Got a very
Got a very
special,
special,
very special
very
guest
special guest
for some of
for
y'all
some of
that
y'all that
know me
know me
and
and
been
been
around for some
around
time. We have
time. We have
a familiar
a
face with
familiar
us
face
today.
with us today.
Very similar
Very
to
similar to
last week's
last week's
Melinated Music
Melinated Music
episode.
episode.
We have a
We
very
have a
familiar
very
face.
familiar face.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
know what I'm
But I'll get
saying?
into
But I'll
him
get
and
into
what we
him
got going
and what
on
we got
after
going
this.
on
Of
after this.
course,
Of
if you haven't
course, if you
already,
haven't already,
please
please
follow,
follow,
like, and
like,
share.
and share.
Okay,
Okay,
share this. There's
share
gonna
this.
be we have a lot of good
We have a lot of
information
good
tonight,
information tonight,
and we're gonna have
and we're gonna have
some good,
some good,
I guess
I guess
behind the
behind
scenes
the
type.
scenes type.
If you ever
If you
like
ever like
or rock with a Moon
rock
Nine
with a
and
Moon
NUMATOMIC,
Nine and
you're
NUMATOMIC,
gonna have some
you're gonna have some
behind the scenes
behind the scenes
information tonight. You
information
know what I'm
tonight.
saying,
You know
about
what
the
I'm saying,
band
about
and
the
how things
band and
got
how
together.
things got
So
together. So
a lot of people
a lot of
we've
people
never really
we've
talked
never
about
really
that.
talked
So
about that. So
we're gonna do that
we're gonna
tonight.
do that tonight.
Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast. We are here ultimately to uplift humanity, because we're in a very special day and time, you know what I mean, for everybody on this planet. You know what I'm saying? We're here to uplift humanity. In addition, we're here to help assist and wake, us, the melanated beings that have been asleep for quite some time. I'm very happy to see that, we're all starting to wake up and humanity as a whole is waking up. Very happy to see that every day. And also happy to see how people are not, falling for the okey doke with all this fear and all this kind of craziness they've been, trying to throw at us for a while. If you haven't already, please go to polkadot.rabbitpodcast.com. Check out the book, Bicultural Living and Leaving the World of Illusions. A lot of people ask me, why, so again, why, you have such a diverse topics, a diverse guest. And we're going to get in that tonight with this very special guest. That's enough for me. Go ahead. I got my man Vincent, Vincent, aka Neb. And like I said, if you look familiar and if you know me, you know this cat because we rocked many a stages together for quite some time in Atlanta, Georgia, and actually up and down the East Coast and around some other places too. You know what I'm
That's a
saying?
fact.
Neb, go ahead and tell them who you are, what you got going on, and all that good stuff.
Welcome everyone. So it's your boy Vito, aka Neb, aka Vince
I think you
J.
got to turn your phone down a little
Oh,
bit, Neb. Yeah,
turn what down?
yeah, because you're echoing.
Oh,
Turn your
you know
phone. Yeah,
what?
turn your phone as low as it can go down.
Yeah,
You don't gotta mute it. Just turn it down as low again because you're getting a crazy little echo.
yeah. Let me slide these away from each other. That might help a little bit. How's that? Is that better? Am I still echoing?
Not as
Check one,
bad.
two. Just a
Go
little
ahead.
bit.
Yeah, you good.
All right, yeah. So I'm. All right, cool. So yeah, it's your boy Vito, aka Neb. Legal name Vince. Born in 1988, right here in Stone Mountain, really Decatur, Georgia, right at DeKalb Medical. Been in Georgia. I'm a homegrown, never left. Well, I ain't gonna say I never left, but anyway, so most of my time was spent here, right here in Atlanta. Parents is well, my mom is actually from Georgia, but my dad is from Brooklyn, New York. Um, Mother is from Southern Georgia, like Macon area. Yeah, that's me. Just ATL homegrown. That's it.
All right. So like I said, man, we were just talking beforehand, and we were gonna just jump into music, all this stuff, but nah, it's a little deeper. We like kind of twofold kind of mix of our of my shows, the melanated music and the spirituality and all that stuff. So when a little backstory, I met Ned. I think you were 17 years old when we first met. Isn't that right?
I actually might have been a little younger than that. I might have been like 16.
Yeah, by 16. Yeah. Yeah. So if you were 16, I was probably what 25, 26 when we first met. So, um, and is that right? Yeah, that's right. Isn't it?
So it was 2008.
No, is that right? I think my math's off,
That had
but
been
it's okay.
2005, really.
2005. Okay. All right. Cool.
2005, yeah.
2005. And
Yeah.
and just so a backstory, like I said, we're gonna give y'all. I was looking for a drummer when we were starting the band. down here, and man, Judah, shout out Judah if you're watching this.
For sure,
Judah
man.
hooked me and Neb up, and
I was just thinking about
we
it, dude.
all, yeah, me too, me too. And we just started literally back when I stayed in what was the White House? That was in down at what
Tower
was the White House?
Boulevard,
Yeah, off Terra Boulevard. Y'all know is that? What is it? That's Jonesboro.
Jonesboro, yeah.
So back in my crib, we just started. It was me, Linwood, and Bilal. We in this little room, and we were just jamming out for the longest time. We started, and that was like I guess that was technically the first time you really played in a band, right? Like a band like that.
Man, yeah.
I mean, and this young 16-year-old got on the drums and was just like caught it like this, and so Ned played with Amul Nine, the original drummer, and also NUMATOMIC. But I got some questions for you, man, because I was just thinking about that. You coming from Stone Mountain, like you said, slash Decatur. You know what I'm saying? What did you go to Redown High School?
So my first high school was Towers High School, and then I went
Hmm.
to Columbia.
Oh, Columbia. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Oh yeah, that makes sense where you stay. Yeah. Okay. So not a lot of cats I know was listening to daggone System of a Down and what I'm saying, all this stuff. How in the world did you start rocking out at such an early age in the middle of Stone Mountain?
Man, so many people have asked me that, and honestly,
Uh,
I could say it was probably because, well, I got to give credit to Judah because he definitely had me. He was introducing the
oh yeah,
bands and
Judah.
all of that, the artists, and that's what got me into that specific type of
Hmm.
music. But I would say probably from since 5 years old, being in the church and just constantly just focused on the drummer.
Yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
disrespect. I just kind of wasn't paying attention to the teacher. I mean the preacher. So I'm literally
Hmm.
focused on the whole choir band. So I'm watching the drummer just the whole time, and I just knew I was like, yo, one day I'm gonna be doing that right there. And
Hmm.
most of the hip hop or just the other genres of music didn't really have that intense drum pattern like metal and rock
Hmm.
music did. So that's what drew me to it. I'm like, yo, these dudes going super fast. They
Yeah, yeah,
banging the
yeah,
crap
yeah.
out the drums. They putting hair like this. Like I want to do that right there. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to stay in the pocket. I want to be all out of pocket. So that's definitely what got me into the rock music. Right? I'd say probably like seventh, eighth grade. I got into like rock music.
Yeah, yeah. Judah, see, our homeboy Judah, he's from New York, and he was straight up New York City hardcore as, I mean, I think he's from Brooklyn too, right?
Nah, he's from Trinidad actually.
Oh, I know he's from Trinidad, but he stayed in New York, right? When he from
Yeah,
New
he
York?
stayed in New York.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know how that is in cats up there. But so Judah, our homeboy Judah, he was straight up hardcore. I'm talking, if you follow y'all people to know, in Madball, Gnostic Front, Biohazard, I mean, just his everything hardcore, man. So, and that's where a lot of the ways that I, was influenced when it came to, hardcore and punk and everything was the New York City hardcore. So I could definitely see how he influenced you. So I'm still trying to figure out, like, okay, you saw the drummer at the church, you saw this music, and you were just like, that was like, yo, I got to do this. Well, let me ask you this: the way that you learned the drummer in church, and you saw that, how did that influence your playing when you started playing, like, rock with us?
Well, really, that just kind of locked me into just picking up on simple beats,
Mm,
noticing changes in time signature
yeah,
because
yeah,
church music can be all over the place.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And then also just paying attention. Just I would always watch how the drummer would pay attention to the other musicians and know when to bring
Mm,
the volume down, bring the volume up. Just the dynamics of the music. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
very
yeah,
similar. So yeah.
yeah. So people don't understand how uh, us musicians communicate, you know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, that how much of a big part of that is when you're playing live, man. Because it's just like having it's like having what do you call the people that the person that sits in front of the orchestra does the baton, that the
Oh, the band major, the drum
yeah,
major.
yeah, there you go. You would know. Because there was a time when you left and you went to school and that's what you were doing, right?
Yeah, definitely. So in 2000, right after high school, 2006, I went to MVSU on a band scholarship, playing drums, and my major was recording industry. So it was supposed to be like a 5 year degree. It was gonna be major in music, minor in business, and then you basically come out working in the studio. But we only have 5 students, and that major. And of course, keeping a studio at the school was expensive, so they shut the program down, and I strictly business after that, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then you came back.
Yeah, that's when I came back.
Yeah,
2008.
that's
I
when
did two good years and came on back. That was like I would say that's probably like the best 2 years of my life. No cap.
Yeah, that's excellent, man.
HBCUs. Shout out to the
hmm
HBCUs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. So okay, I see that. So how was it? Do you think there was a hard transition coming from like the church and everything and playing like when we were playing rock music, or was it like a seamless or? Yeah.
It's very seamless for me because it's all the
hmm
same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all the same to me. So.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. All right. So
Yeah,
okay, so
gospel music, you know how you get
mhm.
fast like that. Just
Say,
playing real
yeah.
fast.
People don't realize
Crazy.
that, man. Poop-a-tap, 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 poop-a-tap. I mean, that's the same.
Exactly.
That's the same beat as like that's the same beat as a hardcore punk rap.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It is no
Yeah.
different, and it changes. And the only thing the main thing I see is the soul aspect when it comes to gospel. Even playing fast. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
you know, I remember listening to Fishbone's album "Reality in My Surroundings," and I remember listening to it, and I was like, "Yo, this sounds like gospel music." You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And they were playing fast, they were playing punk. I was like, "Yo, this," but the rhythm is different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a difference in the
Exactly.
rhythm, the soul, the timing, and like you were saying earlier. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Before I get too heavy in the influence, not influence, but in the music. This is I'm gonna kind of start a different subject because it's very interesting. Because I remember one time, me and Neb, I think you might have been over the crib, right? And I had these books by Dr. York.
Mhm.
And I remember, Neb, I think we just started talking, and you saw the book, you started reading. I think, and then I remember your cousin, he was reading information too, and you were just like, I've been looking for this my whole life. You know what I'm saying? I
Facts.
remember, yeah, I remember, I literally remembered you saying that, like, damn, I would have shown you this earlier if I knew. You know what I'm saying? You were interested in this. Please tell me about like your journey when it came from like, like you said, the church into getting in some information like Dr. York, man. Like what was your journey like?
For me, it was always kind of like I feel like I was always. I won't say conscious because
hmm
I definitely recognize the transition of
hmm
consciousness from
Yeah.
going from Christianity into more of a spiritual based
hmm
belief system. So I got baptized when I was 14, I think. It was kind of by
hmm
force. Like my sister was like, "Hey, get your ass up." You know what I mean? Like that. So she was
hmm
kind of like, "Hey man, you need." So I was like, "Okay," but then after I did that, I was just like more aware. I was just like more aware, like, hey, of just like what I'm doing, why I'm doing stuff like that. And
Yeah.
once you become aware and you still, going to church and you focus more on the word, you study it, it just raises questions, or you like that
hmm
don't really make sense, or this got to be a deeper meaning, or it
Yeah.
just wasn't really resonating the way that I felt like it
hmm
should. I didn't think it was like, false or anything. It just wasn't deep enough. You know what I mean? Like it
hmm
got to be some more information. You know what I'm saying? This is why I felt
hmm
like we was
hmm
just skimming the surface. And I'm
Yeah.
like, somebody got to know what's going on. You know what I mean? So in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know what I mean? This is good, but I need a little more than that. You know what I mean? So it was like I was always kind of like curious as to what, you know what I mean, what else could possibly have influenced the Bible, or like what stories weren't in there that may have
hmm
resonated more with me and what I was going through. So yeah, I would
So
say
so
it
you
was pretty easy.
so you went from just questioning and then stumbling across more. Was Dr. York like was he like the first type of information? Was there other stuff that books that kind of led up to you?
No, it was like that was probably like the first, I would say, published information that I came across, that kind of helped me
hmm
get a better understanding of, alchemy and all those other types of subjects. But yeah, I had never even fathomed there was books like that until I, came across Dr. York books. There was no other authors putting out information like that. There was no other self-help books, or, you know what I mean? Hey, wake up type books. Like
Yeah.
all of those books came straight from Dr. York. So yeah.
Yeah. That's we be talking about Doc a lot on here, and just how many people, man, people don't understand how much influence he's had, not only musically, and that's a whole different subject. That's a whole different show I want to do one time, but just like how much influence that he had with the information, because it interests me because everybody all talking all this Anunnaki stuff now, and it's like, we've been talking about this stuff in way back, and and the interesting thing is, he's kind of like, yo, that really don't got nothing to do with you. So that's a whole different twist
Yeah,
on everything that we're seeing, but better late than never, I say. You know what I'm saying? At least the people getting the information. You know what I'm saying? That's
yeah,
that's what
that's
I
true.
say. But so okay, so once you kind of got into this information, like, how did it transform you? How did it change you as a being, as a mind, as an individual?
Man, honestly, I was excited. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Hmm.
just having that information or just being able to access that type of information, I was like, yo, it's so much to learn. It was like every day was like
Yeah.
I'm just trying to read. Like, let me get to the end of this book, or how does this
Yeah.
book connect to that book, or you know what I mean? It was like a non-ending journey, just constant. I was
Hmm.
just mad excited to just be learning. Like, you know what I mean? Because none of the
Hmm.
books was like, oh, this is useless or this don't make no sense. Like
Yeah.
each all of the books had some real jewels in it, and they all kind of like connected in a way. So I was like, man, like I need more of this, and I was kind of cracked out for the books for a minute. You
Yeah.
know
Yeah. I think we all went through that.
what I mean? For real.
I think literally, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
remember back in the day, I used to tell people at the time, I still tell people, man, back when I was first got it, I would just be smoking blunts, reading them, going down to the bookstore, get another one, come home. You know what I'm saying?
That's a
That was
fact.
just it. You
That's
know
a
what I'm saying?
fact.
That was like 2 years. I was just like this,
Mm-hmm.
just reading. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But nonstop. Yeah, man. So how? But my question is, how did, once you became aware and conscious of what's, in the self health aspect, how did that change you as an individual?
Oh yeah. So personally, just I would say I moved different, as they say these days. But really, it was just
Hmm.
I was just more aware of how I was being affected by my environment and the way I
Yeah.
was affecting the people that were around me and the environment
Yeah.
itself around me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, it was just like a heightened awareness. And what I
Hmm.
when I became more aware, I just didn't do certain things, like as far as just how you
Yeah.
treat people or how you interact with nature. Like I ain't never
Hmm.
really littered, but I was just like, nah, I'm gonna throw that in the trash. You know what I mean? Just like little
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. It just kind of like it made me want to like be a better person. You know what I mean? Like I was just
Yeah.
like, I know everything that I do is affecting somebody somewhere or something somehow, and I was just
Exactly.
kind of like always kind of like, all right, how am I gonna affect somebody by doing this, or how is ultimately the world gonna be affected by my decisions? You know what I mean? Because it might seem
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm just doing this for me, but you kind of know like that cycle of what I mean? The way
Yeah.
life works, it's all connected. So I just was like, all right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't
I
listen to
agree.
the same type of music. I didn't hang out with the same type of people. Well, I kind of never really hung with a certain type of
Yeah.
people, but I
Yeah.
really was kind of, hang around more conscious people or people that was, on the up and
Yeah.
up. You know what I mean? Not just kind of floating around and just, oh, I don't
Hmm.
know, or whatever. Like, we'll find out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No. No. I agree. I agree. I think me and my homeboy were talking recently. It's like, once you become aware and conscious of who you are and how you integrate into this third dimension, this reality. You know what I mean? There's certain things that you have to do, and you have to learn through time. It doesn't, and just doing the right thing. Like you said, just treat people right, doing the right thing, man. Because at a certain point, you realize that if you don't do it, you got to pay for it. You know what I'm saying?
That's a
And
fact.
is, you know what I'm saying? So that's a very key thing, in which, and that goes along with you saying you only deal with a certain people. I think me and you were actually talking about, like, the influences of different things you can see online that can try to bring you into this world and this matrix. And it's like, sometimes you just gotta stay away from it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
that's being responsible. You know what I'm saying? That's
Exactly.
being responsible. All right. So, all right. So back to the music tip. And I appreciate you building on that as well. Back to the music
Yeah, for
tip.
sure.
So what was your I mean, okay, dealing with, I guess, Amol Nine specifically. You
Hmm.
know, what was your, like, the most fun, like a most fun thing that you remember, that you have a memory of us, of the band always doing? Um, like, what was like a good experience that you always, just sticks in your head? You know what I'm saying, about us, being on tour or whatever the case may be. What's a good story, or something like that?
I ain't even gonna lie, so many. was a lot of good experiences, but probably yeah, it was a lot, man. Really touring was a major, part of it because I remember when we did that. We drove. Well, the first time we drove up to Virginia, the whole road trip was
Oh
just
yeah, yeah,
so cool because I had never done like anything like that. You in high school, all your friends broke. You in college, you're taking a road trip just trying to get home. You know what I mean? I never took like a road trip just to, you know what I mean, like that. I was always flying with the family and something like that. So
yeah,
that was
yeah,
like my
yeah.
first trip with the homies type shit. And like I really enjoyed it, just the whole ride up there. And then when we got there, it was like, what I mean, we had a few fans that kind of knew us or whatever. So that was kind of dope. And then the other show that we played in Brooklyn, when
Yeah.
y'all drove up there and I flew
And you
up
flew.
there and met y'all like the same
Rock
night, like
star.
I had, it was so like, you know what I mean? And it wasn't even like influenced by alcohol or drugs. It was just the energy, like it was just so
Yeah,
like everything was, everything was just like happening. It was like a true experience, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
nothing was
yeah,
planned.
yeah,
All I
yeah,
knew was I'm
yeah.
about to go up here and play some music. I didn't know what it looked like, where I was gonna be, what the people was gonna be like, but it was a nice night. It was just, you know, it was just a good experience. And then just every show that we played, I would always say that's probably why I love rock music because of the crowd interaction.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
me being a drummer, like, everybody's like, I could tell, like, what I mean, they turned up because I'm staying on beat, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like I'm literally like we vibing, like, you know what I mean, the whole time just because I'm a performer. And then it's like rock music, the fans be so turned, they trying to jump on the stage, they jumping off the stage. I'm like, oh, this is, you know what I mean? The energy just be fantastic. So I'll probably say planning the shows is like the best experience, even when it was like dead empty, you know what I mean? It was
You
just
know
like,
what I'm saying?
you know what I mean? Like the vibe was always kind of like, you know what I mean, like that. And then I would probably say outside of just us, having fun, probably that time when, we was I think we was at your crib that time, and we were practicing. We had that spinach dip, and
Oh no, no.
and Woody hooked me up with the
Woody.
shrooms, and I was like, he was like, hey man, they got mushrooms. I'm like, I'm good. I'm not allergic. You know what I mean? He was like, oh, mushrooms. I'm like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, I just can't stop laughing. You know what I mean? I'm just so happy, and I was like, oh, that kind of mushroom. So yeah, that was that was fun. That was a fun time.
Woody is like, eat the spinach dip. Like he sound like what's his name? Like eat the cake anime. Eat the spinach dip.
Exactly. He
Eat
because
the
he
spinach
did
dip.
give me a brief
I was like,
understanding.
when he said that, I was like, yeah, I'm good, man.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We had a lot of good times, man. A lot of good times, man. Beautiful
Yeah.
times. All right, so I want to talk about since you went to school and everything, you've seen some things, man. I want to talk about, which how you what do you think about the evolution of music since you've been into it? Because even though it might seem like a short period of time, you've been conscious and aware. And I mean, because you actually being in the music industry, like being in the band, and us seeing that, we both know it's changed dramatically since even we were you together. Could you kind of talk about the evolution of music, what you're seeing?
Man, it's just I'm sad. It's like I'm
Mm,
sad and I'm happy because the technology
hmm.
and the platforms and the way you can get your music out so fast.
Yeah.
And, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? You don't even have to really have a label to be famous. There's so many ways to just promote yourself. But at the same time, it's kind of like I won't say it's oversaturated, but the way that it was, I would say, when I was a little younger, you were able to focus on a particular artist and appreciate the energy that that particular artist was bringing into the world per se. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
let's say like when Tupac dropped "It's Me Against the World," you know what I mean? When it hit the
Yeah.
airstream, it's like everybody's hearing it. It's like a whole movement. It's like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like it was really like I just felt like music was more influential in like a positive way.
Yeah.
And it's like now with everybody just putting out stuff here and there, it's like it's not gonna hit the same if it's not hitting everybody at the same time. So what you really
Hmm.
kind of get is like more consistent artists kind of floating to the top, or the people that got the money that to put into the industry going to the top. So a lot of the artists that are promoted may not be the most talented. You know what I mean? They just
Hmm.
might have the right algorithm or might just have the right team. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that are promoted aren't really kind of sounding off like it's me against the
Yeah.
world. It's
Yeah.
just like a kind of like oh, let's just go smoke and drink and party and screw around. I'm like,
Hmm.
it's plenty of songs like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
why is
Yeah.
that like the main influence? You know what I mean? Of course, music is for fun. It's for like, you know what I mean? But I just feel like as a Nubian person, I always felt like music was kind of like a way to spread positivity, and that just ain't
Yeah.
really happening the way it
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah.
Not to say that there are artists that are doing it, they just aren't promoted. It's not mainstream. You know what I mean? And then you got all of this whole. It's just really wild. You know what I mean? It's a lot of wild stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say it wasn't going on back then, but it wasn't really promoted like that. You know what I mean? I would
Yeah.
say overall, from the outside looking in, you would assume that the industry was more wholesome in a way, it was kind of more respectful.
Woof.
Now it's just really kind of raunchy and ratchet. Like, you know what I mean? They used to play all the same kind of words on the radio. It was a little more discretion. Now it's like, you can turn on the radio and half the song will be bleeped out. And I'm like, why would
Yeah.
you even play it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
pick a
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
song. You know what I mean? But they got to promote that artist because he might have paid the station or his promo. You know what I mean? So it's just like, that
Mm-hmm.
part of it is just like, the whole game side of it is just kind of feel like it's kind of whack because the wrong people don't get the attention they need, or I would say the wrong people get attention and the right people don't get the attention that I feel they should get. So,
Yeah.
but that's just
We
it. So,
Yeah, we talk about
yeah,
that a lot. Me, Larry, and T. We had a whole conversation. We call it the regime. Well, I call it the regime, and we agreed upon that title. But it's like the regime is going to push, you know, what they want to do to sell the records, and also there is an agenda, I think, to dumb down people and and then to make people um to influence people to be not good people, to do bad decisions. To if you have anybody, like Kanye was talking about, you got songs and that just that screwing girls and killing black folks, and you know what I'm saying, like, and my man Phase One, he was talking about just what they call drill music, just he called murder music, and I'm just like, that's a good name of it, because you listen to some of this rap, because I remember Tribe Called Quest, Far Side. I remember all that nice '90s hip hop, and then it just snapped like overnight, like Thanos. Gangster rap came in, and it all went away. You know what I'm saying?
that's
And
a
come to
fact.
find out later, it's because they were doing private prisons, and they had to get the people that in music to influence them to fill the prisons to make money. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole different conversation story. We might talk about that as well. But I'm with you on that, man, because I remember back in the day, even if it was just hip hop like Wu Tang, like you used to really wait to hear another album because you know they're gonna be talking about something. You know you're gonna get something out of it.
Exactly.
I can't tell you the last time I heard anything like that.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So,
That's true.
well, dealing with, in your perspective, dealing with, what do you think is the main influence or way the music industry to today is run? What do you think that is?
I mean, to be honest, I can't even really blame the industry as a whole because it is
Hmm.
what we make it. You know what I mean? No matter what they
Hmm.
put on the radio or whatever, you don't have to
Yeah.
listen to it. No matter what they
Hmm.
put out, we don't have to buy it, and clearly people do. But I really feel like, kind of like how you said, a lot of just young individuals are lost,
Hmm.
and when you're lost, it's easier to relate to things that are more, I would say, like low vibrational in a sense
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's a lot of fatherless homes, or it's a lot of poverty, or it's a lot of people that have been abused, or it's a lot of people that may have seen a lot of violence, or they may not have
Hmm.
had a choice to be in a gang, or you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of environments that may have influenced that type of music. But I think being that it was deemed cool in a way,
Hmm.
a lot of people might gravitate towards that, knowing that's not who they really are. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, cause like for me, for instance, like I'm really good at making beats.
Hmm.
I know how to, I know how rappers, like, I'm good with the cadence. I could put together a really dope, hard gangster song, but I'm
Hmm.
not gangster. So then I'd be like, kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
are faking it. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people, they'll get the beat and they'll see his cousin do a drive by, or he'll see somebody else and they want to come and rap about it. And like, that's not your life. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, people keep trying to be cool or be like what somebody else is, and they don't let that be special. Like, you know what I mean? Like for Kodak, Kodak Black, for instance, like he
Yeah.
got his own story, the way he grew up and stuff he been through. He been to jail many a times. He got, you know what I mean? The president let
Hmm.
him out of jail. Like, he can rap about gangster. He's clearly living a life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Now, whoever the dude is living with your mom, and you got locked up because you got a speeding ticket, and then you got out and you got some tattoos, and now your face tatted, and now you want to rap about drugs. And I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, I just
Hmm.
don't understand like why everybody wants to rap about the same thing, because not everybody is like living like that. So I just wish people could find themselves. You know what I mean? Find something else to identify with, and kind of like
Mm-hmm.
break the cycle and let the thugs be the thugs, and then you know what I mean, like everybody just trying to be the same person. So I think that's
Yeah,
kind of why
yeah.
I always listen to rock too, just because I couldn't relate, like you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I might have some friends that do it, but that's my friend. That's not me. You know what I mean? A lot of people, oh, that's my homie. We the same. Like y'all not the same. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Be
yeah, yeah,
yourself. A lot of
yeah.
people have to just struggle with being themselves, so they just listen to what's popular. Unfortunately, so
No, that's interesting, man. I know it's interesting because even growing up like in the scene, like the hardcore scene and all that stuff, and even the hip hop scene, and like there was a certain identity, you know what I'm saying, that came along with especially a certain type of hip hop. You know, even with hardcore, you know what I'm saying? You had straight edge
exactly,
hardcore, and these individuals weren't doing drugs. They were really they had certain opinions and views that they wanted to express as,
exactly,
you know what I'm saying? And it was like a code. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Literally, it's like even in like underground, like conscious hip hop. You know, if you have cats, that is spitting the 5% doctrine when they hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Or Rastafari. You know, there's a certain code in which that code was about, like you said, positivity of uplifting. Same thing with hardcore. It's about being together and what I'm saying, family and crews and all that stuff. But like today, all you hear is just like you don't hear any of that. There's no substance to it, I guess.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
no culture, no substance. I don't think. I think it's just like if you go to McDonald's and just ask for a hamburger, there's your CD.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Plain
Exactly.
Jane.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we keep on saying. So in saying that, and we can't be sitting down dogging out all. Well, I know we're not, but I'm just saying we both know there's a good part of musicians today, and there's a bad part, as we know. So what do you think? How do you see the contrast between good artists today and the cookie cutter bad artists that are just put out there to flood the streets of negativity?
I won't even necessarily call them bad artists.
Okay,
You know what I mean? I would more so say undeveloped. You know what I
okay,
mean?
I like that.
Because everybody got to start somewhere. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A lot of
Hmm.
people first album might have flopped, and then they found their craft and they did a little better. They put a new project out. But unfortunately, you can put out some trash, and not everybody like it. So you
Hmm.
think trash is
Hmm.
good. You know what I mean? So you're like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep making more trash. But no,
Hmm.
that's not what you should be doing. So I think I would say like a bad artist is somebody that is just not developing. Like if your last album sound like this album, you talking about the same thing, you ain't switch up the flow, or you know what I mean? At least try to work with a new producer.
Hmm.
It's like just like you said, you pull up to McDonald's, you get your, you know what I mean? You get the CD and drop like you're constantly producing the same thing
What,
because
what
they
what
have
do you
a
think about like when these individuals, especially these young cats, man, you hear about it all the time now, like when they get signed, they're not allowed to talk about nothing but stuff, the craziness. You know what I'm saying? That's insane to me. But I mean, I can completely see it. I can see him completely sitting down. But like, what? I mean, what do you think about that?
that's I would also say that's part of knowing yourself because
Hmm.
a lot of those I would say a lot of those artists that were coming up, around our age time, like in 90s, 80s, 90s, they didn't
Hmm.
know anything about contracts or they weren't reading them or they weren't broken down. Like to be honest, unless you were already in this industry or had a family member that could or just happen to know a lawyer or something like that, there's no way you would know how to read through a contract and know
Yeah.
exactly what it's saying. And even if you did, you probably still needed the money. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll,
Hmm.
do this to do what I got to do. But fortunately, you know what I mean? We live in a world
Yeah.
now where
That's a
there's
good
so
point.
many other ways to make money and there's so many other things you can do. You don't have to make trash music to survive. And, there's so many information
Hmm.
available on the internet. You should know how to read your contract or at least, get a
Yeah.
little GoFundMe or something to, have a lawyer to revise it. Like, it's like, I just feel like people have gotten accustomed to making excuses. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're in the excuse music era in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a whole topic of talking about like er, um keeping your intellectual property and trademarks and just knowing what you're dealing with. You know what I mean? And like you just said, most people don't even have a clue to even start with. They just want to be, oh, they see the people on TV. I want to be like them. I just want a record deal. Next thing you know, they gotta, got get drugged through the mud. You know what I'm saying? Just to get in this position. And the more and more, like you were saying earlier, the more and more. we're getting privy to this, backdoor information about Hollywood and and all this stuff. You're like, yo, like it's a whole like cult. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And it's a whole system of just like dismantling human beings and then putting them on top after they just drug through the mud. It's insane, man. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Whew,
In a way, I kind of feel
man.
like that's the way it's supposed to go. You know what I mean? There's
Hmm.
always going to be good and evil, and that's kind
Yeah,
of where being conscious comes from because you
that's
don't
true.
have to sign it. You don't have to put the music
Exactly.
out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's just
I've heard people numerous times, especially now, that like some people like you get offered the road, the door, and that door goes to so and so, you know, and some people like I don't even want to go see what's behind the door. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just staying where I stay. You know what I'm saying? And some people open the door and they end up self compromised, and some of these people just stay there. It might not be the biggest or get the
exactly,
most fame, but
exactly.
you know what I'm saying? It's man, it's interesting to say the least. So let me ask you this, because we've seen different angles when it comes to like our whole everything we did was from the underground, but we also been around. We've been played some bigger shows. We also seen people that are influential. We've even performed with big bands that are very influential around the world. Like, what do you see the difference between like artists that are like underground and other influential artists that are might be influential but not be as talented or have that much substance with their music?
So I really think it either boils down to maybe one or two things:
Hmm.
the support system behind that particular artist or band,
Hmm.
and also, well, I kind of that's kind of still a support system. So you have two different types of support, I would say.
Hmm.
You have those around you that are like, hey man, you make some really good music. Come on, do this. Yeah, yeah. And you have those people that may just not know you. They hear the music and they like it.
Hmm.
They appreciate the message and then they want to promote it. The
Hmm.
thing with the separation with the newer artists is it's almost like they're doing the music for people to like it. You know
Mm.
what I mean? It's like they're putting it out.
Mm.
So, oh, I'm gonna make this because I know people like it, or it sound like this, or everybody's on drugs
Mm.
and you rap about drugs versus trying to break the cycle and just make an album about you. Because can't nobody else make. No one else experiences life like someone else, and a lot of people are creating the same experience. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? One thing I could appreciate about, like, I say Eminem, great artist, right? But even from when his first album all the way up to him becoming a billionaire, he's still rapping about being on drugs. He
Yeah.
still hates his wife. It's consistent. You see what I'm saying? But he
Hmm.
was always the same. He was never like, oh, well, I'm gonna switch this up and go pop
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
like a lot of people just aren't. A lot of people don't want to jeopardize their character or just go along with the flow. So when you have like major bands, they were either really had a lot of support in order to stay who they were, and you know what I mean.
Hmm.
Their family was like, "Oh, he's not doing this," or your mom was coming to the
Yeah.
studio like, "We ain't doing this." And like you had that support to keep you out of some crap, or you had the support to push you into it. Like, "Oh yeah, man, take the deal." Got it. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are just
Yeah.
influenced, unfortunately, by the wrong people. Because no matter how strong of an individual you are still human, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like life, as life goes on, you may become a little weaker. You might become influenced by other things, or you just might
Hmm.
come to a place if you're not consistently studying or just in the right environment. Your music can
Hmm.
change based on what you're going through. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's like trying to compare apples to oranges. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like everybody should just find their lane, find their story, and because I always feel like the most successful artists are the artists that can tell their own individual story the best. You see
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
instance, like Kendrick Lamar, or you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like it's not even so much about how the music is written. It's more so about how the artist can convey a message to the
Delivery.
masses. Because you gotta know how to be relatable, and a lot of people
Hmm.
don't know how to be relatable. All right, so let
Hmm.
me just do a cookie cutter rap about this and that, because that's
Hmm.
what everybody else is doing.
Hmm.
How can you
Hmm.
tell me the same story and make it your own? A lot of people
Hmm.
don't know how to study the craft. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of
Yeah.
work they
Yeah.
put into it. You know what I mean?
It's a big difference between listening to if you listen to I remember this one time I can't remember the name of the song, but Nas did a song, and the song that he did the song backwards, time related. He went back in time. You know what I'm
Okay, I
saying?
think
Not
I know
back in
what you
time
mean.
like Back to the Future, but he started the song at the end of the story and went backwards to the beginning.
Yeah,
And it's like, when I remember listening to that, I was just like, that's genius. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? That's art. That's talent. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's lyrical talent. I'm sitting here pissing putting the pieces, the picture in my mind of the story backwards in my mind in a whole different place just off this man's thought and his words. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? You
Exactly.
know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to you the exact opposite when you just seeing some the horrible imagery of just debauchery, mayhem, murder, and all of the negative things. It's such a huge difference in between same rap, I mean same form, but such a higher and such a lower version of art, man. It
Exactly.
amazes me, still today. Okay, so you being a musician, were you automatically put in a position in the past as far as being having music being diverse? I mean, diverse music influencing you, or was it something that through time you kept on sort of getting more and more diverse the more you learn about music? How did that go, and how did that affect you, as a musician?
Ask me one more time. I don't think I understood the question.
Okay, like music itself, it you got influenced by the diversity of music. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, because you was I'm trying to let me backtrack. How did your development go when it came to diversity of music? Meaning, was it something that you just the more and more you got into music, it became more diverse and branched out? Or was it something that you at an early age you were already kind of diverse? How did that go with you?
Yeah, it was actually it was probably actually the opposite. So when I started listening to rock, that was like all I listened to. Like
Okay.
wasn't listening to no hip hop, had no reason to listen to R&B.
hmm
So, but now them love songs be hit. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I would definitely say it has expanded over time just because, like I said earlier, like the different experiences, you know what I mean? Prior to 2010 or 12, I couldn't relate to a lot of, harder songs because I ain't really been through anything. You know
hmm
what I mean? Now I'm hearing Future and all these other, I'm like, damn, same thing happened to me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
vibing, you know what I mean? So now it's like, now that I'm getting older, it's just like, I'm realizing like some things can be, they just resonate with me because
Mhm.
I feel like and I think that's what's important about each artist and individual because how can I relate to different things if everybody's rapping about the same thing? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I've
hmm
definitely expanded more now that I'm older than I was when I was younger because my life has expanded. Like when I was listening to hardcore and metal, like that's when I was skateboarding and I would say I was probably kind of angry at life. You know what I
Yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
just
Join the
being
club.
young and you know what I mean, just being a black man and constantly having to deal with just hateration and ignorance and shit. Like the hardcore like hate breed, destroy
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
Like that's how I felt. That's
yeah,
how I
yeah,
felt.
yeah,
I'm trying
yeah.
to fucking
Real talk, man.
you know what I'm saying? So, but now what I mean. Now that I'm older, I mean, I done dated, been in love and stuff. So I might listen to a little Avant. I might have, you know what I mean. I switch it up because I'm here now. I
Yeah,
ain't know nothing about love when I'm 14. Why would I be listening to that? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I see.
I still don't listen to country, but everything else, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can relate to a little bit.
So that's interesting. So ultimately, your musical taste evolve as you as a person. Yeah, yeah. That makes perfect
Exactly.
sense. That makes perfect sense. I mean, all right. So you went to school, because I know, and y'all need to holler at this cat, man, because like he said earlier, he makes some devastating beats. He got, he's a beast on front of the board. Engineering, producing, got a hellified ear, got a nice little studio and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
So,
give you
but also,
a little setup and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. So, what about you now? But you're actually doing pretty professionally. You're putting on live events, correct?
No, I'm not doing events. I'm not doing events. I'm just doing pretty much just producing solo artists. at the
Okay.
time. I'm not doing any live events right now.
No, I meant
Honestly,
as far as your, I thought that's what you were doing at your gig.
oh,
Um,
like my job. Yeah.
yeah.
So as far as yeah, like my actual job, I'm doing we do like pretty large scale events, like 30,000, 100,000 scale events. But those that's
Mm,
more so equipment based. I don't really get to be creative on that end. That's more so me just selling equipment, how many speakers you need, how many, you know what I mean, stuff
mm-hmm.
like that. But I mean, it's still in the same industry,
Yeah.
um, and it's definitely a consistent, lucrative industry because no matter where you go, people gonna need some type of music, screen, microphone, or something. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
everything's so digital. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I think that was another reason why I always wanted to do music because I knew it would always matter. You know what I mean? You just gotta kind of find where you fit in it, so to speak. And that's I know another part of just finding yourself and knowing what you do. Because I knew I never I knew I wanted to play drums, but I didn't think I would be able to do it forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
just being smart, like what am I gonna fall back on?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just me having you know experience in the hospitality industry and just knowing how to work with people, I was like, man, how can I fuse that with doing music, but not having to really, you know what I mean, give up all my creative juices. So I just focus on being customer oriented and knowing equipment and knowing what each person needs. So
So was it the type of situation when you put things, you sell equipment, and you see how it is on paper, and the next thing you know, is you just see all these people here in front of you with doing all this stuff, and
yeah, yeah, and I love that because when
yeah.
when I used to go to like concerts and you go to large scale shows, you see the big line array speakers, the big screen, the lights. Like I
Mm-hmm.
was like, man, this is dope. And
Mm-hmm.
so many people on the stage. I never knew how it came together,
Yeah.
but now I'm
Yeah.
putting it together. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because I typed all this, and then I was like, I knew how much it cost. I know how that speaker got over there. I know who put it up there. And it's just
Yeah.
like I'm behind the scenes, but not
Behind the
necessarily
scenes.
like
Yeah.
struggling behind the scenes. Like, cause I initially went in to do setup, like connecting everything, but now I'm just kind of like building the order, and I feel like that gave me more of a retrospective view of like how everything comes together, and
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, the whole process of selling equipment and when the artist comes, because
Mm-hmm.
what I think the main thing that I realized was most of this stuff is planned so far in advance.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And it's so
Yeah.
planned out. You know what I mean? We get to the show like, oh, this is great. Like, yeah, they planned this. They paid for that last year. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? They
Exactly.
do this like you got to draw it. It's like a lot of work put into it, and I
Oh my
appreciate
God,
the
man.
work that goes into putting shows
That
together.
yeah, that people don't understand. Just that's a good point, man. People don't understand like how much effort and what behind the scenes when you go to see Beyonce or one of these big, shows, how much, you got huge tour vans full of equipment. You got all these people breaking all this stuff down, bringing
Exactly.
it in, sound check, what I'm saying, light check, pyro check, all this stuff that's going on, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff that's going on, but you don't even see any of it. You just go pay your money, see an hour show, and that's it. And as soon as it ends, you had your fix, you know what I'm saying? But no, it's way much more information. Oh, not information. Way much more things going in the background to set that up, man. You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying? It's a big difference from seeing like like a show when we like when we open for Bad Brains, you know what I'm saying, at the masquerade, and as opposed to, what I'm saying, we went to see, like I said, a Beyonce show, man. Like, what I'm saying, it's still preparation, but so much different, man. So many moving parts, you know what I'm saying. What was one of the things that really, I guess, what really blew your mind about about that aspect of it all, meaning like just seeing the larger scale in comparison to the smaller things, but still being a performance.
Man, probably the cost.
You said the
Um,
cost?
yeah, I
Mm.
didn't realize. I guess me going to the studio, buying my equipment, setting it up, and doing my own thing with it. I didn't realize how costly it is for people to put on shows because you have so many different people,
Mm.
like you said, behind the scenes. You got a producer, you got a project manager, you got everybody
Yeah.
has a role, but somebody still got to pay for it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
when
Yep.
I
Yep.
realized the business structure behind it, I would probably say that's probably the most. like the wow factor, because I already knew how
Yeah.
the music, I
Yeah.
know how the speakers work and how this connected, but just
Hmm.
all the work that goes into putting the show together and how much it costs. Because I might buy this speaker for $300. I'm like, man, you think that's a lot for a speaker? Yeah, but I can rent this same speaker to 7 different shows and charge them $1,000 because they don't want to have to drive all the way from New York with speakers. You see
Mm.
what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
just the whole value of the equipment and the value of putting on the show, like I just never, I didn't realize that. You know,
Yeah.
I literally thought every time a show was put on, they were driving a big truck, like an 18-wheeler with all the equipment, setting
Uh-huh.
up and leaving. Like, no, they're coming to the show empty. They're coming to the state empty-handed. They're going to pay this person to set this up. They're going to
Hmm.
pay this person to set that up. And it's like, it takes a lot of teamwork to make that happen. And I
Hmm.
think that's the wow factor because yeah, you kind of got to be a good people person. You got to be business oriented. You got to be consistent. You know what I mean? That's not an artist. That's not an artist type. You know what I mean? Job. You know how the
Yeah.
artist just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no, you
Yeah.
got to be on time. You know what I
Yep.
mean? We
Yep.
need your signature. Like everything is very. You know what I mean? I probably say like that was probably the most like, dang.
Yeah,
You know,
man. No,
yes.
it's true. It's true, man. I remember reading Chuck D's book, right? And and they went on tour, you too, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? Back in the 90s time when they were blowing up, right? So they went on, they did some tours with you too. And one time they went over their time. As you know, as musicians, if y'all don't know, when you got that 30 minutes, stick to that 30 minutes or else. You know what I'm saying? They were on time, they went over, I think it was like 10 minutes or something like that. Next time they want to show their next night, it was docked from that time. You know what I'm saying? So that show was 20 minutes if it was supposed to be 30. Because, and I remember Chuck D saying that you too, they had a straight like regime. Like they were a whole government of its own. You know what I'm saying? Of doing everything like you talked about and more. You know what I'm saying? There's so much stuff that goes beyond music. People don't even have a clue. You know what I'm saying? That's an interesting. It's cool that you actually get that. Saying because but when it comes to T, because homeboy, our friend T, because he's been around the world working, working with music. Man, I be picking his brain so much because I mean, I can only imagine how it is to just go from continent to continent to continent to continent.
Yeah.
Just what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
just the organization it takes, people getting on planes, hotels. I mean, all the stuff that we take for granted. That's a huge responsibility, man. You know what I'm saying? So,
Absolutely.
but so what do you got going on right now, man? As far as the music goes, are you just mainly doing beats? Are you trying? What do you got going on right now?
So right now I'm working on a project. I don't want to give out too much information because it's not my project. I'm working with two local artists. They're doing a collaboration. I believe they're trying to release probably this summer or definitely sometime this year. Coming together quite nicely. Is definitely hip hop, like some original. I won't say conscious, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like it's definitely some down to earth, straight up hip
Yeah.
hop, like you know what I mean. And I mean I love working on the project because I would say my biggest fear as a recording engineer or producer is I'm like, hey, I may have listened to a few, because I try to get a feel for the artist, but the worst thing is, you get in studio, you hit record, and it's just like they're just not ready.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like you
yeah,
may be
yeah.
paying me for your time, but it's like I
Mm-hmm.
kind of wanted to help create. Like I didn't want to just
Yeah.
sit here and get paid. So it's like they get in there and they're kind of like, oh, I don't have this, or they want to freestyle, and the freestyle is trash, or you know what I mean? They want me to punch in every 2 bars, and it's like I get it. It's a part of the job.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate authentic artists that put work into their craft. They hit the bar
Mm.
one time, done, recorded, onto the ad libs, boom, on to the next thing. They rehearsed it before they came in. They was on time. You know what I mean? So I think that's something that stands out for me. Just working with people that are that understand the industry and they understand
Yeah.
business is business, even though it's a creative business, or if it's not gonna be strictly business, people that know how to vibe. Some people that don't know how to vibe can be irritated because when you're creating, it takes time. Unfortunately, not everything is
Mm-hmm.
gonna just snap together. But
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
have people that know how to sit back, relax. You know what I mean? Just
Take it
you
all
know what I
in.
mean. Bring that influence from the environment into the music. You know what I mean? That's a process
Mm-hmm.
too that you can appreciate because not everybody can do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
love seeing the different talents that people have and the way that they expound on
Let,
that.
let me let me ask you this, because you were pretty much always around in the studio, always when we were recording. So, what type of stuff did you learn like in those sessions?
Um, Basically the stuff that I was just saying right
Hmm.
now. Because
Okay.
I wasn't really taking notes of like which compressor is he using, or
Yeah, yeah,
how many
yeah,
times did he click this or that. Like that's what I went to school for, to actually get the knowledge to apply to
yeah.
the
Hmm.
studio. But just being in the studio, I'm soaking up how do you manage the process of recording a song, like just that overall dealing with artists and putting the project together, and also having influence on the artist without necessarily being controlling, because I hate to be that person. Oh no, I'll do it like this. Like, it's still their song, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But clearly, you came to me for a reason. So do you trust my ears, or are you just trying to
Hmm.
put out a specific sound? You know what I mean? Because I might hear
Hmm.
something that you don't hear.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know what I mean? That's important too. Have working with people that are able to listen. But I really feel like that's probably something that stands out to me as well. Is just when I'm in the studio, I'm always focused on like how people deal with other people, because that's really,
Hmm.
to me, that's what really music is all about. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So I just love the whole process of watching people work and how they, what I mean, because not everybody works the same. Not all artists do their songs the same. So I believe, when I would say the first, when we went to Red Room Studios, we recorded with Jeff.
Yeah,
Super nice studio,
yeah.
but it wasn't like so industry. Like, it was like in his house. It was in his
Yeah, yeah,
basement.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was like the vibe was comfortable. You know what I mean? It was food there. If you got hungry, you didn't have to like drive to a restaurant or something. Clearly he was, he knew us a little bit to where he would welcome us into his home. It's not like
Hmm.
Tree Sounds, where it's a really nice studio, but hey, you better lock the doors. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just like I learned the different types of studio and the different types of environments where you can
Mhm.
record, and the different type of music you get from different type of environments,
Yeah,
and who
yeah,
works
yeah.
better in which environment. You know what I mean? Like, I think that process is important, because that's what makes the music. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
hear people
yeah,
say they
yeah.
dropped a song. Oh, I recorded this in the bathroom, or I recorded my homie over the phone while he was in jail. It's like you can't really tell in the song, but it's like, man, you made that happen, because
Yeah,
every process is different. I seen the dude still making beats with pots and pans. Not everything
yeah,
is
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
hitting the 808s and using a synthesizer. You know what I mean? I still
Mhm.
like appreciate the creative process. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
people kind of lost touch with being creative.
Well, no, I mean, I think, in the credit to you, I think that's why you're a producer. You know what I'm saying? Because you it, having that experience of all these different things and listen to all this different music,
Yeah.
like you said, you can hear stuff when people going on. You're like, oh well, that's not gonna work because so and so, or it could try this way. Everybody can't be a producer. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? People can be engineers. You can go to school to be an engineer. You can put the levels up,
Yep.
but a producer, that's a whole different
Yep.
animal. You know what I'm saying? In
Definitely.
itself, man. Like I still remember, like, one of my favorite um producers. When I say producers, I'm not saying, like, I'm talking music. Brian Eno from U2, right?
Mm, okay.
He, would take a what I guess U2 is a four piece, yeah, yeah, a four-piece band,
Mm-hmm.
and by him taking those synthesizers, you know what I'm saying, all that music, he makes that four piece sound like a freaking orchestra.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Yes.
production. Or even going back to the 60s with, like with Motown. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
production, man. Production, taking an idea and just painting a huge picture with that music and knowing how to do it the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's production. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? That's why, like, when we used to sit and jam and we'd be writing a song, we'd be like, well, this part need to go like so and so and so and so. And this
Mm-hmm.
part need to cut. Well, we got to cut off here. You know what we're saying?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's songwriting, but it's also, you take that element of it and
Mm-hmm.
put it in the studio. That's production.
Exactly. Because I didn't
Mm.
realize, on a more professional scale, how many tracks were in a song. You could
Yeah,
have like over
exactly.
100 tracks in one song. I'm used
I
to having
know.
the beat, the chorus, the ad libs. Nah, you get into major studios, it's like 60
You know what I'm
choruses.
saying?
You know what I mean? I'm like, man, they're really putting some time in. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah,
It's all automated when certain parts got to drop and they drop, and you know what I'm saying, they got to come back
exactly.
up. And back in the day, people used to have to do that manually, you know.
Yeah, and label it and tape it down. Yeah, I still
Yeah,
got a
exactly,
32 channel
exactly.
for
People,
that
man,
case.
yo, this music thing, man, and and I think that I kind of, I was just talking to my I was talking to I can't remember who it was with, but we were talking about. Oh, I was talking to Gary Lama, right? And we were talking about recording with analog, with tape still. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And because back in the day, the turnaround time was like the '90s. What people would do is, like, for example, I think the first Deftones album, Adrenaline. I think that they, if I'm not mistaken, they recorded analog, right? Everything analog, and what they did is they dropped the files onto Pro Tools and
Hmm.
edited it that way. And that was like the first technological transition of analog during that time frame. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
like I remember talking to Gary, and he was just like, "Yo, technology is so good now that you really can't tell a huge difference between analog and digital."
It's true. It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. It
That's
makes
true.
sense. Yeah, it makes
It
sense. You know
does.
what I'm saying?
Because I used to think originally like, oh, you can't get that whole that earthy tone and you know
Yeah,
what I mean,
yeah.
that recorded sound by using this same technology. But with
Hmm.
technology, they're basically just copying the same dimensions that a room would create and then putting
Yeah.
it into the computer, and the computer is basically
Hmm.
recreating the same, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's very close to the,
Yeah, it's very
you know,
close.
the same. It's almost no difference.
Is it similar? Because I know same thing back when you have your tube amps and you have your you like the I remember one big thing was the with digital tubes or digital amps. You know what I'm saying? Like analog amp as opposed to like the Marshall amp with the analog tubes and like a triple rectifier, dual rectifier. They got your digital, but it's like I think even when it comes to the instruments and the instruments itself, I think it's the same thing that you can still now get some of really similar sound to what
It's
they
true.
used to have.
It's true.
It is, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, man. Technology, boy, that's one thing, man. Like I don't know, man. It's just things have changed so much just so I've been around as far as recording. You know what I'm saying? Recording music and
Yeah.
editing and mastering and all that stuff. It's like even good example when we recorded that last album. You remember how Chris went into the he took the recording and remember how he took the plugins where the sound recording right and tweaked it to sound much better just with the plugins.
Hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if we didn't have the proper plugins and somebody that had to do it, that album would have sounded completely different
That's a
in a
fact.
bad way. Yeah. You
Very
know what I'm saying? Because
possible.
I remember, he took B's bass line, doing all this like he looked like a mad scientist. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you
Yeah.
know, it's come from a muddy sound to sound like a goddamn perfect
Yeah.
bass pitch. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Amazing, man. Technology,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah. I have people ask me that now. They'll see me working on the trunk, working on the song, I'm opening this plugin, using it. How'd you learn all that? Or how do you do all that? It's so many buttons. And I'm like,
Hmm.
with time, you know what I mean? Because some
Yeah.
people will just copy what do they call it? Like they have these plug-in preset packages that you can
Yeah.
just buy. It's very convenient, but you don't learn anything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know
You
what I
gotta
mean?
let
It's
it.
like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, you did the song, but can you do it again without using the package? So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
helpful, but then it's kind of like detrimental at the same time. So
Yeah. 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 It's like a crutch.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. I remember we were having a conversation about you were like Pro Tools is the easiest thing in the world to use, and I'm looking at you when you in that machine. I'm like, how is that easy? It looked like God dang. You know what I'm saying? But then on the flip side, I use Filmora to edit videos and stuff, and you know what I'm saying? And it looked crazy as hell, but I know how to do it.
see,
You know
that's
what I'm
not
saying? So
my
I'm like,
thing.
that's what I'm
Exactly.
literally sitting there, literally editing the film. I said, this is what Neb is talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Now I see. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It take time, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Just take time to learn it, because they try to make it as simple as possible. All them stuff, Fruity Loops, all this, anything. They're not trying to
Yeah.
make it complicated. You know what I'm saying? They
And
just
that's
want you
and
to.
that's how you create a fan base, because there's people out there that like the way you do it specifically versus
Yeah,
somebody else.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
that's important.
Yeah. Well, man, so how did the people get if they want your beats? You know what I'm saying? They want to get in contact. And what's the best way to get in contact? Because I see you done resurrected your IG again. So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
now,
You can hit me up on IG, or just use my email. My email is actually the same um as my IG name, so it's just skateboardv at icloud.com. But I generally don't just send beats because I
mm,
don't consider myself a beat maker.
mm,
So
mm,
typically, I would say anybody that wants to work with me, if you have a project you're working on, or if you have an idea, I work best off of ideas. So send me a little snippet of your idea or a little vocal recording or something. You could just be freestyling in your phone and send that. I'm really good with just working off of, what I mean, what the artist is looking for. I don't like just sending
mm.
people beats, like that's so weird to me. But yeah, if you want to work with me, you can definitely just send me something, shoot me an email, or you can say, hey, I don't know what the hell I want to do, but it'd be nice to work with you. And we can, collaborate, come up with something for sure.
Yeah. Again, a creator, producer. You know what I'm saying? Great individual. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of good times, good stories that we have, man. We could talk all day probably, but you know what I'm saying? I definitely would like Neb in the near future to have you back on here. We can talk about some other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully maybe we can get Bilal and Woody on here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We can all have a Moulin reunion. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, for
You
sure,
know what I'm saying? Good with that. But
for sure.
yeah, man. But besides that, man, anything else you got for the folks?
I just say, always be humble, stay
Hmm.
conscious, try to be the best, treat people the right way, man. Treat people how you want to be treated.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Yep. We out of here, man. If you haven't already, please go to Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast. Pick up the book. If you haven't already, please follow, like, and subscribe to me and Skateboard V, aka Neb Vito. You know what I'm saying? We out of here, and I would like to say that I'm just throwing this out there that it's a possibility that you might be seeing us two working together in the near future. Yeah. So I'm not promising anything, but we're gonna see how things pan out. So we that's it for me. Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast. Tomorrow night we got my man Nasut Har. He's gonna be talking about UFOism and a whole bunch of different things. I'm very excited for that episode. You know what I'm saying? Another student of Dr. York. You know what I'm saying? That a very talented student. We're gonna be building hard tomorrow. So that's it for me. Peace and love, everybody, and we out of here. Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast. We out of here. Peace.
For sure.